My first prediction for today's NBA games is for the game between the Toronto Raptors and Philadelphia 76ers. Alright, hoop fans, let's break down tonight's matchup in Philly. The Toronto Raptors rolling into the Wells Fargo Center to face the Philadelphia 76ers. I've been watching both squads closely this season, and there's a lot to unpack before I give you my call on this one. The Sixers opened the season on fire. Crisp ball movement, hot shooting, and a pace that had defenses spinning. Then they hit a small bump, dropping 3 of their last 4. But don't let that fool you. This team is still one of the most efficient offenses in the league, ranked near the top in offensive rating and three-point accuracy. They space the floor beautifully and have the kind of firepower that can blow open games in a hurry. Tyrese Maxey has flat out taken the keys to this offense. The kid's fearless, pushing tempo, attacking closeouts, and hitting step-backs like a 10-year vet. He's putting up superstar numbers, carrying the scoring load with that lightning-quick first step and composure under pressure. Around him, Kelly Oubre Jr. has been that perfect secondary spark, knocking down big shots, while Quentin Grimes keeps proving his worth as a reliable shooter off the bench. And now, Joel Embiid, even if he's not yet in full MVP mode, remains the difference maker. His presence inside changes everything defensively, and when he's dialed in, Philly's energy level rises instantly. Now, looking at Toronto, credit where it's due. The Raptors have found a rhythm after that slow start. They've rattled off 4 straight wins, taking down legit competition like Cleveland, Milwaukee, and Atlanta. Scotty Barnes is doing a little bit of everything again. RJ Barrett is quietly putting up 20 a night, and Brandon Ingram has slid into this system like he's been there for years. They share the rock, they crash the glass, and their defense, when locked in, can suffocate you. But here's the key angle for me. This is the second night of a back-to-back for Toronto, and it includes travel. They just had to run with Atlanta, one of the fastest-paced teams in basketball, and now they've got to turn around and face a rested Philly squad that's been stewing over recent losses. That's not an easy spot, especially inside one of the loudest buildings in the league. And let's not forget, Nick Nurse knows these Raptors inside out. He coached them to a championship. He knows their tendencies, their sets, and how to make them uncomfortable. That's a huge edge on the sideline. So, when I put all the pieces together, the rest advantage, the home crowd, the revenge factor after 5 straight covers by Toronto in this matchup, I see this as the game where Philly flips the script. The Sixers have too much offensive balance, and their bench depth will show as the game wears on. My prediction, the 76ers win this one and cover the 3.5-point spread. I expect them to come out with energy, dictate the tempo early, and pull away late behind Maxey's speed and Embiid's interior dominance. Toronto will fight. That's what they do. But by the fourth quarter, I think Philly's rhythm and fresh legs take over. I'm riding with the Sixers to win and cover at home tonight. Today's second prediction is for the game between the Los Angeles Lakers and Atlanta Hawks. You know, some games just mess with your instincts. This one right here, Lakers versus Hawks, is that kind of matchup for me. On paper, everything points to Los Angeles taking care of business. They're on fire, winning 5 straight, looking sharper every night. Luka Doncic has been putting on clinics lately, and the chemistry with Austin Reeves is back where it belongs. Yet, somewhere deep down, there's this weird gut feeling that keeps whispering. Watch out, the Hawks might pull something off. But here's the thing, I just can't find a basketball reason to support that feeling. Without Trae Young, Atlanta loses their offensive conductor, their tempo, and that fearless edge that keeps defenses guessing. They've been erratic all season, beat Orlando one night, then stumble badly against Toronto the next. They're a young, talented bunch, but you can see the holes. Inconsistent shooting, poor rebounding, and too many empty possessions when they can't push the pace. Now they're playing the second night of a back-to-back, which makes things even tougher. That kind of schedule hits your legs, and it shows when you're trying to keep up with a team like the Lakers, who can switch gears from half-court execution to full-blown transition in seconds. Luka might have had a rough night against the Spurs, just 9, 4, 27 from the floor, but when you watch him play, you see that control, that poise. He dictates the tempo like a maestro, and even when his shots aren't falling, he finds a way to get his guys going. DeAndre Ayton's also found a rhythm, double-doubles in back-to-back games, and that's been a massive boost inside. The Lakers still have issues on the glass, ranking low in defensive rebounding, but Ayton's activity and the team's rotations have masked that pretty well lately. Their defense still isn't elite, sitting around 19th, but when the game tightens, they lock in. That's what separates good teams from great ones. They know when to hit the switch. Meanwhile, Atlanta's offense without Trey has lost its spark. Jalen Johnson's been a bright spot. His confidence, energy, and versatility pop out every time he touches the ball, but he's still learning how to close games against top-tier competition. Kristaps Porzingis and Nickeil Alexander-Walker can provide spacing and effort, but neither of them can replicate Trey's ability to bend defenses. And here's what makes me hesitate. The Hawks are that kind of team that, even when they look shorthanded, can suddenly get hot from deep and steal momentum. It's the kind of trap spot where emotion and fatigue mix unpredictably. Maybe the crowd gets loud. Maybe Luka forces a couple of shots early and Atlanta runs off that energy. My gut keeps telling me there's a storm hiding somewhere in that arena tonight. But logic? Logic tells me it's Lakers all day. They've been composed, efficient, and undefeated on the road. Their ball movement looks clean. Their late-game execution is crisp, and even when they fall behind, they've shown the poise of a team that trusts each other. You can't say that about the Hawks right now. So yeah, call me conflicted. My instinct whispers Hawks, but my eyes, my notes, and 30 years of watching this game tell me to ride with the team that's rolling. The Lakers have momentum, depth, and the best player on the floor. Sometimes, you just have to trust the numbers over the noise. My prediction, the Los Angeles Lakers to win and cover the 2.5-point spread. I might not love this one, but I'm rolling with LA tonight. The third prediction for today is for the game between the Trailblazers and the Heat. The Trailblazers are making a long trip from Portland to Miami, and that's a serious trek, nearly the full map from northwest to southeast. They've had a couple of days off since stunning the Thunder, handing Oklahoma City their first loss of the season. That win was no fluke. This Portland team has been one of the league's early surprises. They're playing with confidence, chemistry, and grit. Deni Avdija is turning into a real problem for defenses. He stuffed the stat sheet against OKC with 26 points, 10 boards, and 9 assists. Jeremy Grant and Drew Holiday have been the perfect veteran anchors, and their leadership is showing. But let's not forget, they've played 5 of their first 8 games at home, and both of their recent road trips ended in losses. That matters here. Now, the Heat come in banged up. Tyler Herro and Terry Rozier are out, and Bam Adebayo's status is uncertain with that foot injury. Even so, I've liked how Miami has competed despite all the setbacks. They're coming off a solid win over Charlotte, and that first quarter, 53 points, a new franchise record, showed just how explosive they can be when their shooters get hot. Norman Powell and Andrew Wiggins have been stepping up big time, and Jamie Jaquez is doing a little bit of everything, rebounding, facilitating, and defending. Spoelstra's team is still playing at one of the fastest paces in the league, and that tempo keeps opponents off balance. Sure, Miami's playing the second night of a back-to-back, and yes, Portland's got fresher legs, but the Heat have quietly covered in 7 of their last 8 home games following a win, and the home team usually thrives in this matchup. Spoelstra knows how to adjust when undermanned, and I expect them to keep the floor spread, use Powell as their scoring motor, and push transition whenever Portland's defense gets lazy. On the other side, Portland's young roster has been exceeding expectations, but they're still raw. Winning at home with momentum is one thing. Closing out games on the road in South Beach is another. Traveling across the country after an emotional high is the kind of trap spot veteran bettors watch for. Miami's bench unit is deeper than it looks on paper, and even without Bam, their paint defense can hold its own with active rotations and switches. So, when I look at all the factors, the travel, rest, emotional momentum, and home court rhythm, I see value in Miami. The Trailblazers might come out swinging early, but the Heat's experience, pace, and Spoelstra's adjustments should tilt this one their way late. My prediction, Miami Heat to cover the 3.5-point spread. I know Portland's been a fun ride so far, but I just don't see them keeping that same fire going on the road here. I'm rolling with the Heat. They might be shorthanded, but this team's got heart, rhythm, and the home crowd to keep the fire burning in Miami. The fourth and the last today's prediction is for the game. the Indiana Pacers versus the Denver Nuggets. The Pacers roll into Ball Arena tonight, facing a mountain, literally and figuratively. They've lost 7 of their last 8, and now they've got to battle the defending champs in the altitude of Denver. The Nuggets, meanwhile, are on the second night of a back-to-back after a big win over Golden State. But let's be honest, this team rarely lets the home crowd down. They've been flawless at home so far, and playing at a mile high has always been their biggest advantage. Indiana's situation is brutal. With Tyrese Halliburton out for the season, McConnell's still sidelined, and both Mathurin and Nembhard dealing with injuries. This roster looks like a G League unit on paper. Siakam has been doing everything he can, putting up near 26 a night with 8 boards, but it's been like fighting uphill against a snowstorm. The Pacers are struggling to put together 4 solid quarters, and that loss to Brooklyn, a team that hadn't won a game before facing them, says a lot about where they are mentally. Denver, on the other hand, continues to run through teams with that unselfish brand of basketball. Jokic is already stacking triple-doubles like trading cards, and Murray's rhythm seems sharper every night. Aaron Gordon and Christian Braun have been doing the dirty work, crashing boards, cutting hard, spacing the floor, and that balance is what keeps Denver dominant. Still, this spot is tricky. The Nuggets are coming off an emotional win and might take their foot off the gas early. Teams on the second night of a back-to-back usually lose some legs in the second half, especially when the previous game was against a fast-paced opponent like the Warriors. That's where I see Indiana sneaking in the backdoor cover. The Pacers play loose when they're not expected to win, and even though their bench isn't deep, they've covered in most games as heavy underdogs this year. So yeah, I think Denver wins. That's almost a lock. But will they push it past a dozen points? That's where I'm not sold. I can see stretches where Jokic controls the game, but doesn't need to dominate for 40 minutes. Maybe Denver builds a 20-point lead somewhere in the third, then coasts and lets the Pacers chip it down late. My money's on the Indiana Pacers to cover the 12.5-point spread. Denver will take care of business, but I'm not expecting a full-blown blowout. Sometimes, playing the long game is smarter than chasing style points, and this feels like one of those nights.